Welcome, everybody. This is Thursday's UTR Powered by Oracle All Access Series. We're going to be getting started here in the next couple of minutes. And so get comfortable and get settled and get a snack, get a drink of water. And we have a really special guest here today. I can see people are starting to come in already. Oh my goodness, the numbers are climbing here. We had two previous webinars here with Sam Courier and Ali Risk. So I hope you guys had a chance to tune in for those. Just extraordinary words of wisdom and sharing of their journeys. So if you have a chance, go check it out at myutr.com. It's available now to watch for free on there. So help yourself. Oh boy, I see here Neva's on here, and we got somebody coming in from North Virginia. Oh gosh, we got somebody dialing in from Denmark. Goodness, late hour here. I'm so excited to have you guys come on board. Now, this is an interactive webinar, so we encourage you all to write down questions that you want to ask Nick. At the back end of this, we're going to have the opportunity to pull some questions from the various participants. So we encourage you strongly to do that. My name is Mark Leschly. Prakash has the day off, as they say, and I'm filling in today. And I'm the CEO of UTR, and I'm a former junior and collegiate player. I played at Harvard University, and I played on the ATP Tour briefly. If you blinked, you probably missed it, but I have a long-term passion for tennis, and I'm going to be your host today. So while everybody's getting settled here, we're going to tee up a UTR Powered by Oracle video about what we're doing to change the game of tennis. So hope you enjoy it. We'll be right back.
There is a movement building in tennis, a groundswell that is changing the game, redefining who we play, how we play, and bringing fun to the sport in a whole new way. It isn't about who you are, where you come from, or your age or gender. It's about passion and love of the sport, about the will to improve, about community, competition, fun, and friendship. In local communities all around the world, this movement is creating new opportunities that make tennis, well, universal, equal, open, inviting. This is Universal Tennis. Want to join us?
So, welcome to UTR Powered by Oracle All Access Series. This is a free opportunity to connect and learn from some of the greatest names in tennis, players, coaches, legends. And we have an exciting program today. If you've had a chance and you're in the coaching world as well, we'd encourage you to go to our website and check out our Host Your Own Virtual event. This is a really exciting thing we're launching in the coming weeks that's going to allow any coach anywhere in the world to be able to host virtual events for free, or to the extent they want to be paid for them, all the proceeds go back to them. So go check it out at myutr.com. And of course, later coming up next week, we're going to be featuring 2 to 3 webinars like this all week. We have Sangren coming up next Tuesday at 2 o'clock Pacific. So please tune in. Great ATP player and an exciting personality. So let's get on with the show for today. I think we have an amazing legend today with us today. He's the inventor of the Tennis Academy, the Academy training model, and frankly, a rock star in the world of tennis. He's the founder and president emeritus of the IMG Academy. It was the first, the largest, and the most prestigious tennis academy in the world. He's also the trainer of an unprecedented 10 number 1 players, ATP and WTA players, including Agassi, Sharapova, Venus and Serena, Courier, Seles, Boris, Rios, Jankovic, and Hingis. The list goes on and on. He's the member of 10 Hall of Fames, believe it or not. And he's recognized as probably one of the greatest coaches in the history of the game. An author, philanthropist, and a motivational speaker. Now, in order to properly introduce him, we have a little video that we're going to play here that was part of his induction into the Tennis Hall of Fame.
The International Tennis Hall of Fame presents enshrinee Nick Bollettieri. In 1978, no one could have predicted the impact Nick Bollettieri would have on the game of tennis when he formed his academy in Bradenton, Florida.
Nick's impacted the game a variety of ways. He actually pioneered an opportunity for not just the best in the world to come together at a young age, but the opportunity for even club players to come experience an environment where they could be surrounded by these sorts of pros.
I'm not sure when the academy started that he knew he was starting an academy. It seemed to almost fall into place in some ways. I went there, I needed to leave Buffalo, New York. I was the best player in Buffalo at 12, so I had to go somewhere. And he was at the Colony Beach and Tennis Resort.
With Nick, it was like, come from anywhere in the world. Come to my place. Play against all these other players.
He brought in strength and conditioning coaches from the University of Kentucky. He was and continues to be at the forefront of everything, really, at tennis.
Nick's passion was evident, and the results were unmistakable.
He was basically responsible for my career in the sense that I went there when I was 13, and he had an environment that just breeded the best. I mean, best in the world came there. It was competitive. I learned how to compete at an early age. He taught me early that I was worth believing in, and put his bet on me, and that gave me a great deal of confidence and made a lot of my dreams come true.
I really came out of there a finished product. I started there as a highly rated junior and left there, in the top 50 in the world in pros as an 18-year-old.
He was so positive about development, about trying to bring out the positives out of everything else that was going on that were difficult.
He's a person who has so much knowledge and experience, and I was very fortunate that he was able to share that with me at a young age.
No matter if he's coaching a junior or a veteran pro, he finds ways to connect with his pupils.
He's Mr. Motivator. Nick's Mr. Motivator.
You can do it in practice. You can do it when the bell rings.
He's so positive. I mean, that is just one of the best things about him.
He just makes you want to play tennis when you're around him.
He's a rock star in the tennis world, and he deserves it. He's given his life to it.
Nick Bollettieri's accomplishments mimic the roster of players he's helped influence. He's led them to major championships, the world's #1 ranking, and even the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Now, it's his turn.
Wow, that is just absolutely extraordinary. So here is the legendary coach, the motivator, the Hall of Famer, and the all-around rock star, Nick Bollettieri. Welcome to the show.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say this, Mark. Thank you for letting me be part of the Universal Tennis Ranking. And I hope, in my little ways of simple language, little yelling, be able to help everybody throughout the world. And I applaud you for what you've done and your staff as well.
Well, thank you for those kind words, Nick. That's very humbling coming from somebody of your history and capabilities and legendary status. Today we have, almost 1,000 people tuning in, Nick, from all over the world. We have players, we have parents, we have coaches, and we have club organizers and owners. And it's been amazing, the questions that have been sent in. We have hundreds and hundreds of questions. And, we could do this for 8 hours. There's so many great questions and so many words of just admiration and love and appreciation for everything you've done for the game. But why don't we start with a little bit about how you're doing, where you are, and how you're sort of coping with this horrible crisis that we're all going through.
Well, right now, IMG is facing a dilemma, the same as many other people. And we have a few students that have been left there, and you're working with them. And what I'm doing, I found a little private court, my mask on and my gloves on. And I've been giving a few lessons standing 10 or 15 feet away. And aside from that, oh yes, I can't fib. A little playing golf with my two sons, Gio and Giacomo, on the golf course.
Well, that's great, Nick. I mean, as Billie Jean said, you are truly Mr. Motivator. And, are there words of inspiration and encouragement that you can offer people out there today? These are hard, trying times that everybody's dealing with.
Well, my staff, my manager, Steve Schuler, and his son, Nicky, we've been doing a lot of talking. And the words of advice I like to give is this: it could always be worse. And no matter what the dilemma is, if we stay together as a team, sacrifice in a lot of ways, in time, progress will come about.
Well, those are good words of wisdom, Nick. So, well, we hope you're safe. We hope you continue to be safe, you and your family. And let's turn a little bit to talk about these amazing 60 years in which you've shaped tennis. I'd love to start with the early days and talk a little bit about the academy and how you got that going. And before we jump into that, I think there were so many questions that came in from coaches and others about like what drove you into tennis and how this whole vision come about early on.
Well, first of all, I didn't play tennis until my junior year in high school. I was captain of the football and basketball team. And my uncle said, let's play a little tennis. I said, hey, baby, that's a sissy game. We got out there, struck a few balls, went to Spring Hill College, Mobile, Alabama. Being a fairly good athlete, they needed the number 6 man. I made it. But you know what? A lot of things evolved from that. And my last year of college, I flunked a test for the Naval Air Corps because Italians don't know how to read. So I volunteered to be a paratrooper. But you know what I said? Someday I will fly. And that's the message I want to give to everybody listening today. Dream big. And no matter what it takes, those dreams come true. So 41 years later, I gave a clinic to the Blue Angels. And after the clinic, they said, Nick, you're going up, baby. And I went up in an F-18 with my good buddy. And I made that dream come true. So all of you listening to this, it's difficult time. But you know what? Champions find a way to come through difficult times. So many people say, why me? Instead of saying, it's me and I will find a way. But in order to do that, you have to surround yourself with a dedicated staff.
Well, as always, there are going to be so many pearls of wisdom today coming from you, Nick, and they're so inspirational always. Well, so to kick us off a little bit around the academy, we actually had one of your many, many, many fans tee up a question. So we're just going to kick off that here. We can load that up here just to get us going.
All right.
Nicky, do you also remember the exact day that you said to yourself, I want to start the Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy? When was it? Where were you? And who did you discuss it with?
In Wisconsin. Vince Lombardi got me the site. When I got all these kids coming in through the areas, I said to myself, you know what? Putting these kids together might be a good idea. And then I get a phone call from Mike DePalma Sr., my good friend who's no longer with us, and said, Nick, there's a job opening over here in Sarasota, Bradenton. So Julio and I drove all night. We got to the Colony Beach Hotel. The waves were up. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning. I said, hey, baby, we're going to take this job. And that's where it began at the Colony Beach Hotel with Colin Bassett being my first student and Jimmy Arias being a second. So remember, 1 day in my house, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 wife left, 6, 7, 8, another wife left. I had 10 in the house. And then we had an opportunity to buy a motel in Bradenton. So we bought the motel, supposed to be 2 in the room. I had 8 in the room. We flooded over the pool to be the study hall. My buddy, a master sergeant in the Marines, we marched the kids, Mark Knowles, and all of those kids to school. And then a friend of mine, Mr. Lewis Marks, Father Marks Toys, lent me $2 million. And I bought 40 to 50 acres on 34th Street in Bradenton, started the Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy, now the IMG Academy. But let me tell you about a story that this character who was just on there, he came during Christmas. He was pushed into a room with 5 or 6 other kids. His sister, Sabine, came back from the Orange Bowl. He said, I'm getting the hell out of here, baby. I ain't coming back. He went back home. 2 years later, Peter Haas and his beautiful wife sent me a letter and said, Nick, I'm sending my son to you. And Tommy became a son to me. God bless you, Tommy.
Well, of course, for everybody who didn't recognize him, that is Tommy Haas, one of the great legends and great champions in tennis, former number two in the world, I'm sorry. Probably the best player who never won a slam, actually, but fantastic human. And, you know, he talks about those early days, Nick. He talks about coming there when he was 13, 14 years old, not speaking a lick of English, coming initially with his sister, being bifurcated, obviously, into the dorms, and then suddenly being left with a bunch of other kids from Brazil and others. And that must have been just extraordinary. And how did you start to build this culture of excellence there with these kids? And for coaches out there, a lot of people are asking, like, how do we create that level of excellence? How do we create that culture?
First of all, you have to be a little crazy to do things that people said you couldn't do, like Richard Williams early teaching with his daughters. Solomon, starting the tennis channel where people said you're crazy. And Nick Bollettieri, starting the first living tennis academy of the world. But remember, everybody, most people do things they know they can be a success in. Crazy people do things that people say can't be done. And that's why only a few people will reach a pinnacle of success like this. And by the way, I gave the people the Italian salute when they said, Nick couldn't do it, baby. But no matter how good you are, you're only as good as the dedicated staff that surrounds you. In my early days at the Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy, then the IMG Academy, was something that I really didn't stand still to think of what I did.
Yeah.
But what makes you special? When other people follow you, baby, that shows you're a success. And remember something. Last bit of advice on this. My grandmother said, Sonny, did you do everything teachers say to do? Yes, Grandma, go out and play. You parents, you coaches, did you get an A today? Did you win today? Shame on you. The greatest coach in NFL football history, Vince Lombardi, said the following remark, will help me get my camps going in Beaver Dam. My Green Bay Packers never lost. We just ran out of time.
Nick, great stuff. I wanted to pull up a visual here from the video we just watched. And if we can ask the team to put it back up, and hopefully you can see this, Nick. And what this just blows your mind when you look at these players that you have coached, and you look at the 10 number ones, you look at the caliber, the male, the female, the span of these absolute champions here. And I guess the one thing that I would just start to ask you is, like, what is the common thing that you were able to bring out in these players that got them to be champions? What are the things that you noticed and you nurtured and you supported?
Are you ready, everybody? There's no two people alike. God gave me the ability to understand that person, listen to that person, and help that person in their style, not changing Monica Seles standing on the baseline with two hands, or Jimmy Courier's baseball grip on the backhand that his mother wanted me to change. Boris Becker said Nick's a genius. He stands next to you and sees the little things. Andre Agassi, 12:30 in the afternoon. Hey, Nick, what time are you going to practice? And don't forget, we got a hair appointment at 2:30. Casellas, keeping me out there morning, noon, and night. God gave me the ability to read people, baby. And that's what's helped me. And also to be very simple and always positive, even though you yelled at him, always be positive in what you said.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk a little bit later about motivation and inspiration, but let's have a little fun with this one here, Nick. While the list is up, I'd love to get your immediate reaction to who fits best in the bucket I'm about to ask you. So, of this list, who is the easiest to coach? What jumps out?
I think that the easiest one to coach was Monica Seles because she would do anything. You have to tell. She was there ready to do
it. And who was the hardest?
The hardest to coach in that list was probably Marcelo Rios.
Marcelo Rios. And who do you...
Most talent of any student I ever had. But his goals and how he did things, he fell short of being one of the greatest players in the history of tennis.
Who had the highest tennis IQ?
Well, it certainly wasn't Nick Bollettieri.
Of these players.
Those players, you got to say Pete Sampras and Boris Becker thought of everything he did before he did it. Example, before he served mentally in his mind. So he had 4 serves to your serve. And Pete Sampras never said too much, did his talking with his racket and built that game with that wide serve. But he went about it in doing things his way and with his great coach who died suddenly.
Yeah. Last question for you. Which of these players did you learn the most from?
I probably learned the most from Agassi because he was very complex. And if you didn't understand him and become a better listener to him, as when he went home for Christmas vacation, came into my office and he said, "Nick, do you ever listen?" I said, "No." He said, "Will you listen now?" "Yes." "Will you tell the dean I don't have to cut my hair," which was down to his elbows. I think that Andre and I and Fabi, but let me tell you something. Working with the Williams sisters, oh boy, it was something. And I'm grateful because I can go through all of that list up above. And if Jimmy Harris's father had let me put him into a 2-handed backhand, he'd still be playing.
Well, this is an amazing list. And the other thing that's absolutely amazing are the people that aren't even on this list you coach, like Krickstein and others. I mean, it just boggles the mind. Well, let's pull that off.
Aaron Krickstein went about it in a slow way. He puffed his cheeks when he hit that 2-handed back. And every night at 11 o'clock, the phone would ring. "Yes, Dr. Herb, how'd my son do today? How'd my son do today?"
Well, let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk about the game of tennis today, Nick. You've lived through decades and seen the evolution of the game. And the things that have really, one of the amazing things about your coaching and how just seemingly every year you evolve. You evolve and you perfect and you become relevant and you find new ways to take advantage of everything there to optimize players' abilities. Talk to us a little bit about how you've seen the game evolve and how you've adjusted to technology, fitness, mental, equipment. Help people out there understand that a little bit.
First of all, a long time ago, you hit a few balls, see you tomorrow. Today, the game is based on techniques, physical and mental. And believe me when I tell you, today, the grips are totally different than they were a long time ago. For a player to come on to the tour today or be a top player with an Eastern forehand grip would be very difficult. But remember, you can't hit what you can't reach. Footwork and mobility. Why is Andy Murray? Why is Djokovic so darn good? Their footwork is unbelievable. And you know what? I want to give a little tip to all the coaches in the world today. Ready? Get your students to stand in front of a mirror Get down in a ready position as if you're a goalie. Put a mark above the mirror where your head is. Hit your forehands and backhands and see if your head is still equal or below that mark on the mirror. You know what? You do that, your lower body foundation increases immediately. And look at Djokovic when he hits that two-handed back. His right knee is touching the ground, baby. And that foundation with the recovery step. And everybody listening today, please. So many players hit the ball and forget they got to get the next ball. So it's hit, recover. The recovery step is very important. And what the recovery step does, it prevents you from raising up on your tiptoes so much. Because if you keep the rear foot behind you, you're only hitting with your arms and your body. So remember, today the game is techniques, physical, and the mental part to the game. And last tip, to be a top player of the world today, you can no longer hide a weakness.
Well, I think that's good advice. I think, a lot of people were asking us and the questions they sent in, Nick, and saying, look, there's been this evolution in the game. Use your crystal ball and think 5-10 years out. What is that next level of the game that requires? What's your vision and sense of if you're a 12-year-old kid watching today and you want to be on the pro tour in 10 or 15 years and be at the top of the game? What's your vision of how this game evolves?
Let me say this. A boy 14 going on 15 asked me, when do I go to the net? Go to the net all the time. You find out yourself. That was Tommy Haas. The game in the future will be an all-court game. And if you can't play the whole court, 9 out of 10 times, you'll fall short of being a top player. It's going to be an all-court game, including the serve and volley coming back. But believe me, you have to be able to do it from any inch of the court.
That's great advice. So today, when you think about teaching juniors versus back in the day when you had Andre and Jim and Tommy, how do you approach it differently now than you did back then?
Less emphasis on winning at 11, 12, 13, 14. Develop your game. Even though you could win, being a pusher and staying back and staying back and staying back, that'll be not enough to be certain. Encourage your players to play the entire game at a young age. But, mama, dada, coach, did you win? No. Did you try the things that'll make you an all-court player when you're 14, 15, 16? So my advice in the beginning, less emphasis on winning, more emphasis on working on the total game.
Well, let's tee up a video here. Tommy was nice enough to send in a couple of questions for you next. So he's got another one for you here. So let's have a little fun with that.
One more question for you, Nicky. Besides having great attitude and grit and the necessary talent to try to make it as a professional tennis player, what in your eyes is the biggest attribute to have in order to make it to the top, or in order to have a professional tennis life?
To make people think they could do things that they never thought they could do, baby. And I don't like you with a beard either. So now, and you're the only guy in the world that I allow to say, Nicky, I love you.
Well, you're going to laugh. He said it the first question to me, and in that question, he actually said, Nicky, don't give me a hard time about my beard. So Tommy's actually at home in LA now. He's watching this, and of course, he sends his love and regards, Nick. So, and well, blessings. So, well, let's talk a little bit about the state of tennis in the context of American tennis. You know, one of your students, Martin Blackman, runs USD Player Development. Fabulous, fabulous human being, and become a good friend of mine as well. He actually hosted a webinar earlier this week. For those people that are on this, it's at USC Player Development. It was an hour and a half. It really featured a lot of good insights on how to work and improve your game. So people should go check it out. But let's talk a little bit about the challenge of the progression, the junior progression now, the cost of it, the commitment of it. We got lots of questions from people about, hey, should I play multi-sport? Should I specialize early? When should I, what are your thoughts on this migration as a junior into college tennis and beyond?
Well, Mark, let me be very frank with everybody listening. The reason why Nick Bollettieri was success, I gave the majority full scholarships. The game today is very expensive. That's why talented athletes go into football, baseball, basketball. They go down to the yard and shoot baskets. Now the USTA is beginning to fund talented players. Tennis is a very expensive sport. Nick gave Tommy, Mark knows, Andre, Seles. I gave them all scholarships. That's what made me different than most people. We must get sponsors, along with the USTA, what they're doing with my man Martin, who's a tremendous educated person. You have to fund some of these people along with the coaches.
Yeah. Well, you may have seen today, Nick, the ITF just furloughed half of their employees, unfortunately, and have really scaled back their organization. And I think there are a lot of people on this today that aren't part of the USTA, an American system, but are with other federations around the world. And I think everybody's sort of struggling with the same challenge. One of the great things about UTR, we've opened up the world for college tennis and the opportunity for people to develop their talents locally, develop a UTR, and then make themselves eligible. 65% of all college players now come from internationally. What are your thoughts on progression there, getting into college, getting an education, and hopefully maintaining the hope of a career? But do you see that as an interim step, or are you of sort of still the old mind, which is really how your academy originally started, to go all in?
No. I'm totally different. Back in the times of Tommy and Arias and all of them, I turned my kids professional when they were still in diapers. I changed totally. The majority, boys and girls, should think of at least 2 years of a college scholarship. By doing this, that record of what they do in that couple of years will give them a message. Hey, I think I have this, I can do this, I have good ranking. But going directly into the pros today at 15, 16, 17, unless you get a big multi-million-dollar contract up front, go to college. And also remember something. Be careful. The game is very physical. So a young player, girl or boy, 15, 16, playing against John Isner, 6'10", be careful of not getting hurt.
Yeah. Well, Nick, let's pivot a little bit to provide some tips and insights for players and coaches of players out there. One of the amazing things about you is that you have all these elite players you've coached, but you coach at all levels. You coach adults, you coach juniors, you coach elite players. So give us some of those pearls of wisdom and insights and tips that you tend to provide for people at different levels, because you have the ability not just to create great players, but you create better players at every level.
All right, I'm going to give you a few lessons, no charge. Everybody listening, coaches and players. The person on the other side is hitting you balloon balls. Do not try to hit up on the rise. Move back. And the non-dominant hand, point at the ball coming and hit low to high. The farther you go behind the baseline, the higher you hit the ball. The majority of players go back. The non-dominant hand drops down as if they got something in their pocket, and they hit high to low. So remember, on a high ball, immediate take back, left hand pointing at the ball, let it drop and hit low to high. Do not try to bring the ball back down. There's your lesson.
Well, let's talk a little bit about motivation, Nick. I mean, I think you are just an amazing motivator. And can you share with us some of your life messages, discipline, working hard, and the things that you found in your coaching career to be really helpful to players?
Well, number one, when a player says they can't do this, they can't do that, you know what? Let's go up to the Children's Hospital in St. Petersburg and seeing children dying of cancer. And you're out there complaining you can't do this. Get your ass out there and do it, baby, or I'll kick you one. So what I try to do is give them an example. Give them an example. Also, quite often, I will talk to them, but I listen to them. And when I listen to them, that their mother or father are working 2 jobs for them to be in tennis, I talk to them about that. I said, young lady, your mother's working 2 jobs, and all she's expecting of you is to go out and try to be the best you can become. But the other tip is this. Never say, I'm going to be the champion. You can be a champion if you reach your level of excellence in anything that you do in life. Those are the messages I give to people. But you know what? I also listen to them. Well, Nick, you know, my dad is working 2 jobs. He told me if I don't win, this is going to happen. Nick, I mean, when my coach says, you're terrible, look at you. The other kids are beating. Be careful. The one thing that's in my new book that'll be out, I'm doing it with the Tennis Channel and Joe Drucker, called Coach's Journey. Part of the book is called The Power of the Tongue. Coaches, don't you dare ever in a group lesson say to one of them, especially youngster, look at you, everybody else is doing it, you're not doing it. That child goes home, doesn't eat, doesn't do their homework, they lower their self-esteem, and they're subject to drugs and alcohol. So coaches, Nick Bollettieri stayed there to midnight. I would never let a person go home thinking they're a failure. And if you get anything out of this webinar today, baby, you make sure that you're positive with every child, including adults, before they leave your premise.
Yeah, well, that's great advice, Nick. Nick, let's talk a little bit for players and for coaching about character and sportsmanship and etiquette. What's your sense of the game today? What is good? What's bad? What needs to be improved upon? Give us your pearls of insight.
Well, let me say what my father said. You can't say something nice, positive about a person. Don't say it. Yes, you can show, oh, how could I miss a shot like that? Have respect for your opponent, for business, for your parents, for your brothers and sisters. Always have respect, and remember something else. Don't forget to say thank you a lot of times. And if a person does something good, compliment them. You know what? When you compliment them, they might say, hey, that person's a pretty nice person. They may not beat the tar out of you then, okay? But being nice is very important, not only in sports, but in everything that you do. And everybody, how many times you say thank you during a day's period? That's character, baby. And the character will have a big impact on everything that you do in life. Remember that. And a small compliment goes a long way. And if you can't say something nice about anybody, don't say nothing. You know what? When you don't say nothing, they get the message.
Yeah. Well, that's great advice. You know, coming up in a week or two, we actually have Jim Lair, who's going to be doing one of these, Nick. And
he's fabulous.
Nick is just one of the most amazing sports psychologists, and his focus more recently on character development as well. So I hope people can tune into that.
And he's terrific. Learned a lot at the academy, and he's given me some wonderful compliments. And Jim Lair is one of the best, and on top of the list of sport as a person.
Yeah, no, he's a fabulous human being. So, well, let's talk a little bit about something else. I think there are a lot of parents on here today, and I think there are a lot of young kids on here today. And one of the things that I was really struck by in that intro video that Andre said was that Nick taught me early on I was worth believing in. And to me, that's a really interesting comment. And you were, you know, sort of a father of sorts and a father figure for Andre. And talk to us about how parents should handle their kids in this world of elite tennis. And what is your advice, and how do you handle parents when you're coaching the juniors?
Well, first of all, mom and dad, grandmas and grandpas. Only compare your children to other people as an example. Number one, when Maria Sharapova missed the ball, she moved back, cleared her mind, and came back. However, the majority of people handle things in a very negative way. Remember, you can get the message across in a positive way rather than putting the business person down in a negative way. And that's what I've learned. I've learned that. And I learned that because I dealt with so many different people. And please listen to this. Become a better listener, everybody. It's just like buying a car. If I was a car salesman and Mark, you came in to buy a car, I let you talk to me. What color? What do you want? What do you want to pay? You've already given me the information for me to come back to be able to sell you that car because you already told me what you're looking for. So please be a better listener. And you know what? You never stop learning. And everybody, when you think you know it all, it's time to go back to school. And remember something else. General Petraeus, luck can only happen once. So if you go to Vegas and roll a 7, pick up those dice and run. That's luck. Stay there any longer, you're going to lose your clothes and go home naked. You have to earn your luck. My good friend General Petraeus said, by sweat, blood, tears, baby. That's how you make luck. There's no shortcut to luck. You all hear that?
You know, let me do a variant off the parent. Many parents are also the coach. And, you know, I've heard it said that when it comes to constructive criticism from parents, there is no such thing. There's only criticism. So talk to us a little bit about the challenges of the parent coach and the traps and the dangers.
Well, first of all, Mark, you have to find a way to work with them. They're not going to leave. So if you try to make them leave, it's not going to work. What you'll have to do is to be clever. Get them to join the team, baby. And who knows, they may have some good feeding also. So what you want to do is, hey, send me a video when you're working with your child. When you view them playing a match, send it to me. And let's go over it. You can't put them aside, Mark.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to win them over. And that's when you have to be more than a coach, baby. You have to be a psychiatrist, and you have to be clever. That's why I would have been a genius if I was a lawyer.
Yeah.
Try a lawyer, baby. Because I'd have known when you went to the bathroom. I'd have known everything about you. The more you know of people, the better job you can do. But you're not going to put those parents aside and say, be quiet. In most cases, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, Nick, I want to pivot to questions from folks. But before I do, I want to just touch on one last thing, which is one of the amazing things about your career and what you do is your generosity and your giving back and supporting underprivileged kids as well as your foundation. Talk to us a little bit about what you've done and the importance for everyone to give back.
Well, first of all, back in the late 80s, early 90s, I was at the French Open, and my friend said to me, about the hundreds of thousands of boys and girls that hit a ball. Don't worry about it, baby. And the man was Arthur Ashe. And I started the Ashe Voluntary Program in Newark, New Jersey, with Bob Davis, being the director, who's back with me again doing this program. We ran it for 13 years. Remember something. We have to help those people that have very little. And that's what Nick wants to be remembered for, not the 10 number ones. Nick wants to be remembered for making an impact on a person's life. And that goes on for generations. That's the greatest gift in the world that a person can have.
Yeah. I think that's wonderful. Let's pivot a little bit, as I mentioned to you, and I've been weaving a bunch of these questions into this, but we have so many people out there in different domains that I've been asking you. One of the things that came in different forms from different coaches was, like Mustafa, for example, wrote in, what is the one thing that sets a good coach apart from being a great coach?
Saying a lot less. He said Nick was a genius, stood close to you, sees the little things, and walked away. He said most coaches have diarrhea of the mouth. The more you talk, the more you disprove. And by the way, I'd also like to add something. In the state of Florida, I'm working very hard with my good friend who's the head of the Senate, and we're hoping to get a wonderful program sponsored by the state of Florida so I could do this program throughout the entire state, sir. So I got my fingers crossed on that.
That's great, Nick. Another question that came in here was, how do you coach men differently than women or boys different than girls? What is your approach from a coaching point of view?
Well, when you deal with ladies, you have to know a little bit about them. And remember, most ladies like to be complimented. Even though you're saying something negative, you got to be able to come across a little differently. With a man, you can be a little bit more abrupt. Remember something. The mother is very important in the household, baby. You please mama, you have a chance because daddy don't have any other choice but to say, yes, mama, I'm with you, baby.
Let's talk a little bit about confidence and self-esteem. There were several folks like Kate and others who wrote in and said, how do I become confident without being cocky? And how do I build confidence as a player?
I think that one of the things that's very important, my students or people listening to this, watch players on the tour. And I said this to the Tennis Channel the other day. Do not try to copy their techniques and strokes. Look how they react after they miss a ball. Look how they react when they have a defensive shot. Look how they react to the opponent. That's what you want to learn. Maria Sharapova, one back. Oh, Nick, Boris Becker, he thought a lot before he hit. So everybody's different. And Andre Agassi said a tremendous statement in the clinic we gave out in Long Island several years ago. Andre, you know, I missed the ball. You know what Andre said? You can't do anything of what happened, but you can do something on the next shot. And most people keep remembering the previous shot, and they're going to miss the next shot. Clear your mind, baby. Clear your mind.
Yeah. We had a gentleman write in who's 60 years old, Augustin, and he said, look, I'm 60 years old. What are the, and I'm an okay competitive player. What are the two things I should work on to be better?
Well, number one, you want to work on a little bit more in movement, in a little better physical shape. But remember something, my great man, a friend of mine, Richard Williams, said to his daughters, run for every ball. So as you get a little older, that's going to be more difficult. So the better shape that you stay in will make it possible. Remember, I'm 80, going on 89, baby, and I'm just beginning. So when I see something good, I'm going to go get it. But remember something, be realistic. But when you do play tennis and you are getting a little older, when you have an opportunity to do something with the ball, don't pray that the opponent's going to miss it, but you make them miss it.
Yeah. Nick, a lot of people here are coaches. A lot of them are trying to build their clubs, their academies, their culture. And they said if you were giving advice for somebody who wants to just start out, be a coach, build their career, what advice would you give a 22-year-old Nick Bollettieri today?
Well, first of all, I would ask him for his background in tennis. Okay? And then I probably would tell him to look in the area of coaches who earn respect and look a little bit. See the different ways of teaching. But remember something. You cannot stop learning. And perhaps today you have to know a little something about the grips because the game has changed. So that person getting into the game has to have a little knowledge, first of all, on the grips, which are very important. So my advice is maybe to watch a coach that has gained respect and has results. Watch how he teaches. Gain a little bit by his words of advice and how he teaches. Okay?
Yeah. So just a couple more questions here. They're flying in here rapidly from everywhere, Nick. So much of the game now is mental. We had an amazing webinar yesterday with Alison Risk, and she talked about the mental game and how she has just developed her off-court, her preference, managing her nerves, resilience, confidence, anger. A bunch of folks rolling in. How do I manage my anger and my frustration from losing? How do I deal with the fact that I don't think my results matching my dedication? Do you have thoughts and words of wisdom? You talked about the mental game being so important for the future of the game in terms of just the difference between players.
Well, first of all, we should also bring in a little bit about nerves. We have not done that. Remember something. You must admit you're nervous. Don't be ashamed. Many years ago, on my first jump, I was a lieutenant, and the little buck private looked at me, and he said, Lieutenant, you're going to jump? I said, yeah. He said, Lieutenant, you're nervous? I said, son, I have diapers on. I'm so nervous. So please, don't be ashamed to say that you're nervous, but find a way to get over it. But you first have to admit it. Most people think if you say you're nervous, you're defeated and you're a sissy. Don't ever say that. Right?
Yeah.
That question.
Off court, diet, cardio, weight training, stretching. You know, as the game has evolved, talk about the relative importance about time spent and effort put in there for people at all levels. And what do you emphasize with elite juniors, you know, high college pro players, and even recreational players?
Well, first of all, you should have someone direct you a little bit to get started with the program. So you want to do certain things. But you remember, a lot of people may get into weightlifting and doing it correctly can have an injury. So everybody should, first of all, maybe go and see somebody that knows their business that can give you a program. But the other thing I'm going to say to everybody, you people that have a few little extra pounds on, starting tonight, you write everything for the next week, how much you eat, drink, when you do it. And you know what? You do that and cut down in certain areas. I'll send you a bill for someone to trim you down, baby. Okay? But it's very important. Take care of yourself, but do not overdo it. Okay?
Nick, in closing here, are there any other thoughts or comments you'd like to communicate to this broad group here, international group at all levels that we haven't?
First of all, a good friend of mine, David Control, Sr., who knows you, and his son, along with my manager, Steve Schuller, and his son, we're building a site to help people. And it's going to be very simple. But what I want to say to everybody before closing, Mark, your program is terrific because you keep it simple. If you keep it simple and also get participation from your audience, you'll even get more successful. Remember something. Me being on here tonight with my staff is a pleasure. And if I can change the lives of anybody listening tonight, it was well worthwhile. And remember, there's only one Nick, baby. Only. I love you. And I want to do this again with you. Okay, everybody?
Well, there only is one Nick, that is for sure. And we've been so appreciative of this. And as to everybody out there, as Nick mentioned, he is setting up a digital domain. There's so many people that have inquired about how they can get in touch with you, Nick, how they can learn from you. You have your Coach's Journey book coming out.
Yep.
You have a new website coming up. The other thing is we're going to be working with Nick at UTR to facilitate access to Nick and come up with innovative ways that he can start to help players, coaches, parents, and clubs. So those are more exciting things that we're going to work on together.
Well, this was fun tonight. And my manager said, Nick, this might be about 30 minutes. So that's okay. You know why it's okay? Because we've done a hell of a job. And the people listening, I think, have learned a little bit. So always count on me to help you. Okay?
Well, thank you so much, Nick. Extraordinary as always. And there's so many words of wisdom in there. I hope people took notes and enjoyed this. We're going to end it here. We'll encourage everybody to tune in next week for Tennis Sangren on Tuesday at 2 p.m. And please go to myutr.com to register for that for free and to learn more about what we're doing with UTR to support and help tennis. And once again, thank you so much, Nick, and God bless and stay healthy and safe.
And listen, one more thing. All of you viewing this, we're going to say, Mark, when is Nick going to do this again? Bye-bye, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
All right.